Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the launch event of the first e-smartec e-course. My name is Alessia Giorgiutti, and I'm Project and Communication Officer at POLIS Network. And I'm here today with my colleague Laura Babbio as Communication and Dissemination Managers of the e-smartec project, which is an Interreg Europe project funded through ERDF funds that is dedicated to enhancing sustainable mobility through marketing techniques. We are here today for the sole purpose of launching the first e-smartec e-course titled Building Engagement Strategy of a Sustainable Human Mobility Plan. Before starting the actual webinar, I would like to show you our agenda for today and also to introduce our panel, starting with my colleague Laura Babbio, who's Project Officer at POLIS Network, and with Eugenia Kolb, who's Project Manager Mobility at Hessen Trade and Invest, who's one of our regional partners.
Hello, hi.
And of course, also our project coordinators from the Center for Research and Technology, Hellas, who cannot be here today with us, Maria Morfulaki, Maria Hatzetanasiou, and Gliheria Miroali, who have sent us a warm welcome. But first of all, I want to go through the agenda so that I can really show it to you here. So as I said, we will start with our warm welcome by our project coordinators. We will go then through the actual presentation of the course by Laura and I. Then we will give the floor to Eugenia, who will give us a little taste of the good practices that have been collected by Hessen throughout the lifetime of the project. And last but not least, we will give you the floor so that you can ask all the questions that come to mind when talking about the e-smartec course. Without further ado, we will start with the first bit, the welcome from our project coordinators from CERTH.
Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, the first of the 4 in total e-smartec project webinars that have been concluded by December 2021. The full title of the project precisely describes our goal: enhance sustainable mobility with marketing techniques. My name is Maria Morfulaki, and I'm working in the Center for Research and Technology, Hellas, in the Hellenic Institute of Transport. I'm the project coordinator, the e-smartec project, and closely working with my colleagues.
Maria Hatzetanasiou
and Gliheria Miroali.
We are really happy that we will share with you insights on how to build strong engagement strategies to accompany mobility plans. e-smartec is a beloved for us project, a unique opportunity unlocked with the support of Interreg Europe program. The project started just before the shock situation of COVID-19 in August 2019, while matured substantially during this hard situation of pandemic. However, as always in such cases, while trying to size opportunity from the crisis, we brought engagement in mobility planning one step ahead. We learned from the inside out that engagement must and fortunately can continue even by tele-engagement actions. Let me just make a quick necessary for us note. For the whole trip for which you will receive a pocket experience, 9 partners and 6 represented e-smartec regions have joined forces. I would like to thank all of them very much.
What we learned in e-smartec is what we will share with you. We shared our experience in co-planning, co-design and engagement actions in mobility planning, but we also dived in interesting examples from other fields, and we tried also to link engagement in mobility planning with the experience of the marketing sector. And then, as Maria said, COVID-19 came along with many challenges in the whole social fabric, one of which is associated with engagement efforts. The word E came to our lives to accompany and transform the identified engagement methods in co-planning.
So join us to unbox the rest e-smartec outputs too. Learning from e-smartec regions and international experience in engagement while linking components of the success stories with the marketing sector's techniques and methods, concluded in a comprehensive library and in a very detailed handbook, both acting as supporters for authorities while building their engagement strategy. We also built training material and implemented e-training sessions in e-smartec regions. We discussed a lot with stakeholders and citizens in each e-smartec region, and we identified needs, opportunities, and crucial areas require urgent engagement actions. And finally, we are on the way to build our action plans.
Hope you will find our trip similarly exciting.
So we are back now, and I'm very happy to actually show you yet another video, the one we have prepared to actually present the e-smartec project. This video was created almost 2 years ago, so before the COVID pandemic. But it's a great animation, and it will explain with a little bit more depth what we've been doing for the last 2 years.
e-smartec wants people to care about sustainable urban mobility. It brings together 9 partners from 7 countries and uses marketing techniques to enhance citizens' and stakeholders' engagement when sustainable urban mobility plans are developed. We work in 6 project areas: Bratislava region, Central Macedonia, Lazio, North Limburg, Hessen, and West Midlands. In all those places and on an international level, we collected 76 successful good practices. Some examples: the Motivate project, a crowdsourcing and interactive learning environment; the Elverton project, that demonstrates the usefulness of light electrified vehicles for urban transportation; and the Sunrise project, promoting co-learning to address common urban mobility challenges at the neighborhood level. Join e-smartec, participate in our training sessions and stakeholders' plenaries, and exchange knowledge. Funded under the Interreg Europe Programme 2014 to 2020, in the thematic area of low-carbon economy.
I hope you can hear me. There you go. So it is now time for us to actually talk about the e-smartec e-course. I hope that the warm welcome from our project coordinators as well as our animation helped you get already into the mindset of the e-smartec project. And without further ado, let's go and let's talk about building the engagement strategy of an SUMP. If you have any question, also, I would like to say you should use the Q&A box on the side of the screen so that you can really get all the answers that you need by today, right before the start of the course. Any e-smartec e-course, there are many e-courses out there, and there are many learning experiences connected to sustainable mobility. But why did we decide to do this? Why did we decide to channel our knowledge and skills of 2 years into this learning opportunity? Well, we wanted to introduce the steps and the skills and the mindset of e-smartec and its marketing techniques and engagement methods to a wider audience. Of course, our main targets are mobility related, but we want everyone who's interested in sustainable mobility to get the basic instruments to understand, or also to apply if they have the power to, so that they can create a successful and overarching participatory approach. Obviously, as I said, we're aiming mostly at local and regional planning authorities, especially the ones who are involved in sustainable human mobility plans and in some of the aspects of sustainable human mobility plans, such as urban planning, engineering, communication, and many, many more. But again, if anyone is interested in just understanding, the SUMP course offers a very broad spectrum of knowledge that goes bottom up and top down. So this is actually any course for everyone. Everyone who is interested in sustainable mobility, everyone who's interested in engagement, everyone who's interested in participatory approach. The course uses a very popular e-learning platform, which is Moodle, which is used usually for university purposes, and is provided by the Utrecht Mobility Academy. POLIS Network, so in this case, Laura and I, who represent the e-smartec partner and communication managers, deliver the e-course. But we are not alone in this. We have had the help and the support and the materials that were offered by some of our partners, for example, Rome and Link Campus University, as well as our project coordinators from CERTH. And obviously, all our regional partners have been helping us in disseminating and producing the content that you will see in the course itself. The e-course follows a massive open online course structure, which means that it is a self-assessed and self-study through slides, additional reading suggestions, and assignments like tests and brief written tasks that can be found at the end of each unit. And as of unit, we have exactly 6 of them that will be introduced by my fabulous colleague, Laura Babia.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Alessia, very much. So Alessia has introduced a little bit the why are we doing this and the how will we do it. But now it's also very important that you know what is that we're going to learn, that what you're going to study. We have divided the e-course in 6 units, at the same time split in very snappy modules that we have prepared for you. I'm going to now introduce to give you just a little bit of a taste of what you're going to learn or to study. So if we can go to the next slide, please. The first unit is actually just an introduction unit. So it's just where we will welcome you and introduce the participants to the e-course, a little bit just more broader than what we are doing today. It's also a chance where participants can get to know into each other, where they can publish and introduce their names in the forum, and really just a very nice chill way of getting into the e-course, of getting into the vibe and start this learning process, which starts in the next unit. In unit 2 is when the content really starts, but of course, before starting into the core elements from the e-smartec project, we need to establish a base. So this is really the need to learn the preliminary concepts that are really necessary to continue in the rest of the course. Probably things that you also know, but just in a little bit of detail. So what is sustainable urban mobility planning, where we go into the difference between the SUMP and traditional transport planning, but also what are the functions of the SUMP and what are the main objectives. And in the second module, we will go through the participatory approach to sustainable urban mobility planning. So really, what is it? What are the scope? What are the different levels of participation? And what are the key elements to have a participatory planning in SUMP? In the unit 3 is when we start with the properly e-smartec content, the unit dedicated to marketing techniques. So as already our colleagues from CERTH briefly introduced, these marketing techniques come from the industry, but have been adjusted and accommodated to mobility planning. And the techniques, we have clustered them in a bit of, just to make it a bit more digestible and easy to go through. What we will explain in this unit is a little bit just some key elements. So the cost, how much does it cost to implement these techniques? What is the time frame? So how and when and at which stage of the SUMP cycle should be applied? What is the scope? And of course, some key success tips. And to not leave it all theoretical, to not leave it all a bit abstract, we of course also will introduce some good practices, which also Eugenia today is going to give us a little bit of a taste just after our presentation. The unit 4, it's about engagement methods. So implementing a participatory approach in SUMP is actually a complex process that requires a specific and strategic engagement actions. And we have done an overview, a summary of the ones identified in e-smartec in this unit. Once again, to make it a bit digestible, easier to get into, to make it more accessible, they have been clustered. In this case, they have been clustered by the scope. So in the first module, we'll actually first learn what is the relationship between the marketing techniques and engagement methods. Already, CERTH gave us a little bit of a spoil in a nice table of how do they relate to each other. And then in the next modules, first we will see the engagement methods, which the main aim is to increase awareness. Then the engagement methods that are used for co-planning. And of course, there are actually some engagement methods that can be used for both, that use both scopes. And this is just before our, let's say, the big deal, the star of the show, which comes in the unit 5. The unit 5 is the Capstone project. We have made for you a very interesting project that consists in building the engagement strategy of a SUMP. We have here encompassed all the knowledge that you will acquire in the e-course in a bit of a practical manner. You will have to develop the engagement strategy for a scenario that is, of course, fictional, but still quite realistic, which means that you won't only have fun, of course, you will probably have lots of fun in the project. You will not only find it interesting, but it will actually be very insightful. It will be very useful for you, for your real life work outside of the e-course. And because of having such a scenario that is at the same time fictional but very realistic, it will make it very easier for you to transfer the skills from the theory that you learn in the e-course to your real job. And as it says here, are you up for the ultimate do-it-yourself challenge? We certainly hope that you are. And then we have one final unit to conclude. So it's really just a conclusion unit to review all of the key messages, to review the library of the resources from the e-course, and of course also to evaluate the e-course. We're very, very interested in your feedback. So what do you think should be learned? What have you found most useful? Maybe it's the moderators, who knows? But in any case, it's going to be very, very welcome to have the feedback. And once a participant completes satisfactorily all the assigned tasks and actively participates in the course and in the forum, then you will get a certificate of completion from the project. And I ask you, who wouldn't want to have a certificate of completion from the e-smartec project? Probably no one. And then now that you know a little bit what is the content of the course, I hope that I make it clear and that you find it as interesting as we think it is. Alessia will present the how to join, when to join. Now you know everything. You must be excited to learn when can you start. And Alessia can tell you. Okay, you're on.
Okay, perfect. So indeed, the course when? Well, today. That's the first step. Today we're launching the event, but it's a very slow, easy peasy launch, because today is just a webinar for you to interact with us, ask questions, and I see already there are a bunch of them. And this is just an occasion to really try to answer all the questions and find all the solutions before, in preparation of the course itself. The e-course will start from next week in the strictest sense, since the first unit will be released next Thursday. And the e-course will run for 8 weeks. So if you count it down, it's going to be 6 units spread throughout these 8 weeks. So it will run until the end of November 2021. There will be again 1 unit per week. The only exception will be the Capstone unit. The Capstone unit, or unit number 5, is an exception not because it's terribly difficult, but because we want you to really take your time and analyze the Capstone exercise and do it with as much calm and time that you might need and might want. And also, we want you to interact with your other peers, the other attendees of the e-course, so that you really can channel all the knowledge that you have shared and you have understood individually, but also collectively. The materials will be available after the active period, always in the Mobility Academy platform. And in addition to that, we have plenty of correlated and related material that is available on our website. And you can always interact and ask Laura and I for more information, more material, more content, or any kind of explanation, clarification that you might need throughout the course and after the course. But again, how can you join? We tried to make it super easy for you. So you just have to take out your beautiful smartphones, for those of you who have smartphones, which I suppose everyone, and scan the QR code on the left side of your laptop. And this would lead you directly in the Mobility Academy platform. The Mobility Academy platform is free. So you can simply log in if you have already a user profile. And if you don't have a user profile, just sign up. It's super easy and especially useful if you're going to use the platform for other e-courses, such as the CERTH e-course that now is online, or future courses that will be available in the upcoming years. And by doing that, by accessing the Mobility Academy platform, you will be allowed to register to the e-course. Our e-course, again, is called Building Engagement Strategy of a SUMP, or Sustainable Human Mobility Platform. Sustainable Human Mobility Planning. And you just have to add the self-enrollment key engagement/SUMP. This will allow you to access the course for free and to simply register to it. Again, if you have any question, if you have any doubt, I know that I might slip here and there with my words. So if I might have sounded confusing, or I mean, Laura might have sounded confusing, which I think she didn't, you can just ask us directly via email and contact Laura and I at alessia.jutti@polisnetwork.eu or lbabio@polisnetwork.eu. We are here to try to simplify the process for you to understand the e-course and actually to be part of the e-course. So I really hope that we sort of gave you as much information as possible. And again, for any question, you have the Q&A box on the side or our emails. And that's it, I think. So I will stop sharing my screen if I can. Okay. And now it is the time for Eugenia to take the floor and introduce to us two of the amazing good practices that have been collected by the region of Hessen. Thank you, Eugenia.
Well, thank you, Alessia and Laura. I hope you can see my screen.
We can.
Perfect. Okay. Well, my name is Eugenia Kolb. I'm a project manager at the Center of Competence, Sustainable Urban Mobility of the state of Hessen. It's a state in Germany around Frankfurt. I think that's the city most of you might know. And yes, welcome to this online course. I will now provide a Hessian taste of what's to come. Just to quickly introduce you, we collected 9 good practices in the e-smartec project. Here are all of them, and in the next 10 to 15 minutes, I want to present you these 2 in detail. The first one is the Active Mobility Marketing Toolbox. It's a selection of standardized material to raise awareness for active mobility measures, so for walking and cycling. And it helps to enhance the communication process between local authorities and citizens. So the target group of this toolbox are municipalities and local authorities, representatives, and also politicians. What does it contain? This toolbox contains practical advice and tools on marketing and communication, in this case, regarding active mobility. So in addition to numerous guidelines, which give municipalities practical advice on the implementation of active mobility and supporting workshops, extensive materials for advertising are provided in this toolbox. So it is intended to give local authorities and politicians the opportunity to discuss active mobility issues in public without having to use their own usually scarce resources. So, as I mentioned, it especially contains the comprehensible guidelines that give advice to how to conduct these communication strategies. It contains templates, for example. So you actually, as a municipality, you have no effort to use or to set up a communication strategy and campaign. And in order to make these topics appealing and understandable, press texts, posters, and for example, flyers, templates are also made available for free. And what I think a good an advantage is that these flyers and several materials exist for various topics, such as active mobility on holiday, in bad weather, or for local material or local circumstances. So as a municipality, you can choose, okay, what do I need? Which topic do I want to cover? And select the respective material. And municipalities can also receive instructions on how to use the press kit free of charge. So there is the possibility to contain print products such as posters and advertising material, and you can order them at low cost. Further, there's also a box or a certain material of photos and videos, which you can use for free because often it's combined with costs. So it's actually already like cycling photos or videos, which you might use during a communication strategy. You can use those for free. So the aim is to promote active mobility by providing targeted assistance for municipal communication strategies and an extensive advice and templates. By this, citizens are directly addressed by the varied offer and have the opportunity to obtain specific information on active mobility measures. And they can obtain information directly and also enter directly in an exchange with politicians or professionals within the framework of these events. So it's an extensive advice and templates, as I mentioned, by providing these printed materials. And I just want to quickly show you how this looks like. It's actually a web page structured in several topics. And for example, it contains recommendations for communication strategies, handbooks, guidelines, as I mentioned, a press kit, and then the flyer, poster, download, further advertising materials. You can order a pool of photos and videos and further equipment for events. So if you actually want to realize an event, it's also kind of stands and further advertising materials, which you can order for your event. So this is the first good practice I wanted to present you. I think it's a good practice to actually show how municipalities can rather easily implement communication strategies and have the adequate instruments to do this with low efforts. My second good practice is the city cycling competition. It's a campaign to promote cycling, and it's using the gamification approach. So the campaign as such contributes to climate protection and sets an example to promote cycling in municipalities. How does this work? It's also targeted at municipalities. So local decision makers for cycling infrastructure, local politicians should experience firsthand what it means to cycle in their own municipality and help to initiate and implement measures to improve the situation for cyclists. And the city cycling campaign is designed as a competition to promote cycling. So everybody actually is invited to form teams with citizens and also politicians. It's actually politicians are targeted especially to kind of be team leaders for certain teams. And they compete against each other and I think what it's quite interesting is that politicians are also meant to set a positive example to encourage citizens to cycle more. And then the campaign is set for 21 days, consecutive days, and you collect as many journeys as possible by bike for both private and professional purposes. So school classes, for example, clubs, organizations, companies, and local inhabitants form teams, and usually it's via an application. Each time you cycle, you put play and then it's recording, and then it's recording the kilometers you are cycling and collecting all kilometers conducted by the team. And yeah, it's a big database, and then you can see each time the ranking, what ranking your team has, how many kilometers you have collected already. And yeah, also you can see the ranking each time in the municipality. So the municipality sets the dates for the local campaign, and it's usually during summer, of course, because it's the best weather for cycling between May and September usually. And anyone who lives, works, belongs to a club or attends school or university is allowed to participate. As a municipality, you need to register and also prepare the campaign, but also like the toolbox, the infrastructure is kind of set, and you only have to kind of adapt it to your needs within the municipality. And also no financial means or resources are required except for participation fee, depending on the size of the municipality. So the aim of this good practices is, of course, to promote cycling in municipalities. And it's also a collective participation, which might convince more people of cycling, since they gain a first-hand experience and participate within this context. And I think what is quite interesting is the opportunity to change routinized mobility behavior, because due to this gamification approach, it's a competition. You might cycle more, you want to be better as your colleague or another team. It's really a game which with a good purpose at the end, because you might discover, oh, okay, if I cycle to work, it's actually quite feasible and it's quite doable. So it might also be an instrument to change these routinized mobility patterns. Just to quickly show you our team of this year in Frankfurt, we were 12 participants, and we cycled more than 2,000 kilometers in 3 weeks. So we were ranked 77 in Frankfurt, and I think it's also a good team spirit, and you get to know new people. It's quite a nice experience to cycle, but also it means a lot more due to your mobility routines and also this team spirit and the chance to get to know new people. Yes, these were my 2 good practices I wanted to present you for now. I don't know if there are any questions. I will unshare my screen, and yes.
And we're back.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eugenia. It was actually very, very interesting. Very nice to hear that. Also because Laura and I could not see these actual presentation before. We actually have 10 questions. I think we can pick a few, but we have quite some time to go through it. We also have one raised hand. I don't know whether we should maybe start by Laura. What do you say? Do we want to start with the raised hand or with some of the questions?
Well, I mean, it depends. I think that I see, checking the questions, there is, I think, one specifically from Hessen at the end, asking if you have actually results coming from these good practices. So, for instance, has there been an improvement in the active mobility?
Yes, well, there are many municipalities which also form now a working group, and they tell me that it's quite really usable and helps a lot, supports them, and got measures rolling concerning active mobility and also a shift of the model split.
Oh, okay. Okay, I think that was an easy one. I don't know, we can start if you want with the raised hand and then continue with the written ones.
I think we can go with one of the raised hands. I think it was Hermete, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just find Hermete. There you go.
Yeah.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Yes, we can hear you.
Just a question about the self-evaluation and the capstone. Will be judged collectively? Can we share it with the other participants and getting a feedback, or from trainers?
Okay, so about the capstone, maybe Laura can give a little bit more of like the general information about it. What I can say is that the idea is to use the forum to share with each other information, questions, as well as talking about the capstone, because in 2 weeks, I don't think the capstone itself is particularly difficult. Again, Laura can give maybe a little bit more detail on that, but it's not very difficult. But the idea is that in case there were issues or questions, or just you would like to, I don't know, compare the status of your capstone, your own analysis of the capstone with someone else, I don't think there would be a problem. Of course, it depends on the single attendee of the e-course. Laura, do you want to add about the capstone in general?
Yeah, I can speak a bit more about the capstone. So obviously this is not like a contest, there's no prize, there is not really a grade at the end. It's just about completing the task and just using all the resources. So the capstone is going to be to build the engagement strategy. We are going to give one fictional city. We are going to give information about the fictional city, so level of population, a bit of everything, with some very general indicators also related to transport. So there is a public transport offer that is low, all of this information, and then we are going to set some policy objectives, which is going to be where a bit like what is going to be the guiding thread of the engagement strategy, what is the final aim. And then we will give you a budget that is going to be used in marketing techniques. And then the whole point is that you need to develop a strategy to use, you need to develop a strategy of how to engage participants for each of the cycles for each of the stages, in the SUMP cycle. So of course, the whole point is that you interact with other participants. It's not that you share your whole capstone, but if there are questions, if there is, just any comment that you want to do, we encourage this. It's not only that it's allowed, but it's actually encouraged, because at the end, when you also prepare an engagement strategy in real life, you don't do it on your own. You actually get to talk with people to discuss, and it's the whole point of the participatory approach. So I hope that this gives a bit more clarity on the capstone.
I can also add one other thing, which is, well, thank you, Hermete, but I want to say that the capstone itself, as well as the e-course, is basically based on the material that has been developed by specifically one of our partners in Rome, which have developed the hands-on trainings for regional professionals. And amongst the various elements that were available in the hands-on trainings, there was also something very similar to the capstone itself, with like this semi-fictitious elements that could be very realistic and apply to any, I would say, small, medium-sized city. We also have, okay, perfect. I think we actually answered this pretty thoroughly. Laura, do we want to go ahead with some of the other questions?
Yes, let's do it. And if anyone else wants to raise their hand or talk, of course, we will give you the floor. Just use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen and or drop a line in the chat.
So maybe we should go for another question, maybe for Hessen, for Eugenia. Unrelated to the e-course, but how did regions collect good practices? What was the process that led us to your presentation and basically the content that we've seen?
Well, it was part of the first phase of the project. Every region could hand in good practices, respecting certain parameters. And I think all in all, we collected 76 good practices in the project. Yes, and we're also in a constant exchange to present these good practices. And that the idea is drafting our action plan to actually learn from other regions and kind of see if good practices of other regions might also be applicable in Hessen. So that's what we are doing right now. And also, have some good results, I think. And it was a nice process to actually kind of widen your ideas, what you can actually do. And yes, so phase one, but then also reflecting these good practices in your action plan, which we are in the process of drafting it now and finishing it actually.
Okay, perfect. I think that was answered as well. Thank you, Eugenia. Then we can go by order, I think. The first one is this course only applicable to the public sector, or can it also be useful for the private sector? Laura, do you want to answer this one?
Yeah, of course. And that's also the answer. Yes, of course. I mean, this obviously we have focused it very, very much to what is it to elaborate a sustainable urban mobility plan, which is something done by the public sector. But that does not mean that at the end, the marketing techniques or the engagement methods can be used in general for anyone involved in mobility planning. It can also be useful, for example, for private mobility operators or just in general transport operators that at the end also may need to do their own mobility planning, their own engagement with the users. So the core concepts of the e-course, we think that are actually very, very valuable for anyone working in the transport world or actually just interested about the transport world or interested about communication. All of these can be useful. It's not limited to public or private.
I agree with that, second that. I think from also a perspective of a citizen, this could be very, very interesting. I mean, we have to remember that even transport professionals are citizens. So I think this is the e-course. I think when we wrote the introduction, the outline for the course, we talked about linking the dialogue bottom up, top down between all stakeholders. We wanted to give the possibility to everyone to really understand the elements of the participatory approach and how to get a successful sustainable human mobility plan. And we know that an SUMP cannot be achieved without all the stakeholders, citizens included, knowing exactly what is going on and what's the purpose of the sustainable human mobility plan.
And just to more specifically, it's also, I mean, this is not related only to the communication people working in a city or just to the more decision-making positions. It actually can be very useful for everyone, including the technical side. I myself, I'm a civil engineer, and I many times find that many times the technical people focus too much on the technical without understanding the social and the co-planning and the co-creation part, which is also very, very important, and you don't have one without the other. So this is also an opportunity for those that have a bit of a more technical profile to get into the other side, to learn how to co-create one with the other.
Can I actually ask to Eugenia one thing that is not written there, but if you were outside the SUMP bubble, would you consider doing this like as a professional working? I mean, you're working in the environment for sure, in the field. Would you be interested in doing this?
The e-course, or?
Yeah.
Of course, because I think what Laura just mentioned often is a problem, that especially for sustainable transformation, communication is a key, because you need to work with the people and actually to send a message and not draft your plans and implement it and nobody will accept it. So I think it's a crucial part. The communication focus and plays a major role for sustainable urban mobility planning.
I agree with
there
that.
You go.
And I'm also happy to hear that. If someone who's involved would like to do that, that's already a good sign, I would say. Okay, let's proceed. Well, I think we have already answered this, but it's asked, is there any certificate for this e-course? Yes, there is. You said it. We are still thinking of how it will look. That's another point, but I don't think it's very relevant for you, but there will be one. So you will be able to hold your own certificate for the e-smartec e-course.
And we will make it look good, so you can hang it in your Zoom background for your meeting.
Yes, so it will look exactly like Laura's background, which is
exactly like it, combination.
Or like Eugenia's, which is as well.
Actually, e-smartec.
How much time will we have to dedicate to these classes? So how much time do we have to use for these classes?
This is a very good question, actually, because this is something that we have not mentioned in the presentation. So we estimate and how we planned it is that you have to dedicate usually maximum 2 hours per unit. So it's also something that if you don't have time during the week and you're just boring on a Saturday morning, you can just dedicate to the e-smartec e-course. But also, since it's only 2 hours, you can actually maybe fit it in during your regular working schedule. This is for all the units except the last one. The Capstone project is also, this is why we give a little bit more time. It's not difficult, it's not complex, but it can take a little bit time to find the perfect strategy. So for this one, we estimate that it should be 3 or 4 hours. But because of this, we also give a bit more time. So we would have 2 weeks and not only 1.
Exactly. And if we want to do the math, it's going to be around 10 to 15 hours overall, spread equally amongst these 8 weeks. Of course, again, the e-course is going to be available after the active period, so that's not a big of an issue. And also, nobody will chase you if you're not respecting the deadline. You're not going to lose anything. This is not the point of the e-course. E-course wants you to learn, to have instruments, to have basic knowledge, and that's what we want to do. We don't want to shun you away if you're not keeping up to the deadlines. Then is the e-course free? I think we mentioned it, but not as directly. The e-course is completely free. The platform of the Mobility Academy by Ruprecht is free. The e-courses there are free. The only way to access it though, at least in our case, is the use of this self-enrollment key. So if you don't have this self-enrollment key, what will happen when you go on the Mobility Academy website is that you will be asked to register So to log in or sign up to the Mobility Academy platform. And after you've done that, you will be redirected to the registration page for the e-course, but you will need the key, which is engagement/SUMP. You can find it on our website. You can find it on our social media on Twitter and LinkedIn. So there's plenty of sources where you can find this key. And also you can just ask us. You have our details, and maybe we can actually write it down in the chat if you can, Laura.
Yeah.
But this is, it's not really a problem whether it's free or not. It's more if you remember or have the enrollment key. So I think that this was answered too. How can I prepare for the e-course? Okay. So do you have a suggestion, Laura?
Well, to be completely honest, I don't think that actually you need to prepare a lot for the e-course, because this is precisely why we included a unit with preliminary concepts. So all you need to prepare is your attitude and to be ready to learn. And I don't think that you really need to prepare much more. We are taking care to make a complete and cohesive e-course that it makes sense, that you don't really need much. You just need, of course, to be able to understand a bit like the mobility jargon, but nothing too specific. And as I said, we will introduce the main concepts already in the e-course. So I don't really think that you need to prepare much. I don't know if, Alessia, you think that they should prepare something?
I think that if you want to be prepared on these preliminary bits, there's plenty of content on our website, especially in the library, where you can find, for example, the handbook or our good practices. If you want to get to know a little bit better the content, because a lot of it will be found in the e-course. That's also another question that was connected to this. Will we see other examples of good practices? Laura mentioned it, but within the various units, you will encounter some of the good practices. It's not going to be just the ones that you've heard from Eugenia. Eugenia gave us a little taste, but there's more. As Eugenia said, we have 76 different good practices that are amazing and need to be seen and need to be shared and need to be used for transferability purposes. So I think that if someone is interested, if someone has a little to know more, they can just head to our website, or again, they can contact our regional partners too. I think who are available to share content, more content on specific good practices. And I think, yeah, I don't know if, Eugenia, of course, you're not involved directly into producing the course, but do you think there's a need to prepare to get to know what e-smartec is about?
Yeah, I didn't set up the e-course, but I don't think so, because I think a lot is also self-explaining, and by applying it, I think that in the end will also clear a lot, right? And
yeah, I agree with that.
There's more literature, and like you can always read more online, the handbook and the good practices, as you mentioned. But yeah.
Yeah, we will have, so we will link also with all the units, the resources that we use, and just for you to, as just you said, just to go further. But the e-course still can be very useful. You know, at the end, a handbook, some guidelines is just some piece of paper that you have to go through. The e-course, I think, can help you navigate all of these and can help you get all of the good practice in a bit of like a more interactive way that is just not sitting down and reading a manual. This can give you an introduction to the manual. So if you actually want to use one of these techniques, you can then go to our manual, and you will know how to use, when to use each technique, which I think that is the most that gives you the e-course. Everything combined and presented in a really nice package for you, with some exercises to practice, and it's just not read and forgotten forever.
There's one other question from Alice asking, do you already have a calendar for the course? Yes, we do. We haven't published it yet because this is just like a soft beginning. So this is the launch event to answer these questions. But during this week until next week on Thursday, we will start populating the actual platform. So you'll see the various units. But to answer your question in terms of calendar, as I said, the e-course will be of 8 weeks. So it will run from next week in October. Actually, I can tell you the proper day, which is going to be the 7th, and it will run until the 25th of November. But, and there's a but, I think that we are keeping ourselves open to the fact that there might be a need to readjust calendarly wise, because there might be issues with uploading the units, but everything will be communicated within the platform. Everything is going to be communicated there, and the people attending the e-course will receive notification about this. So even if you don't access the platform every day to check if there are updates, you will get a notification in your inbox about this. So you are not left alone, you're not left astray if there's any change in the plan. But in general, we will have around, I would say, 8 weeks of activity. And we have 2 more questions, but also we are almost to our close. So I don't know if we want to touch on the other ones, but
I think that there is one interesting in the message that says, does the e-course include methods of cooperation between the city and private companies, for instance, how to promote corporate sustainable mobility plans, or is this outside the scope of the subject? I wouldn't say that there is a specific methods of cooperation, but what I do know is that some of these engagement methods, for example, can help you for this. We don't put specifically what is the scope in those terms, what I mean, but that doesn't mean that you cannot use it. At the end, these are engagement methods that help you to engage. So this is, if this is the final outcome, not outcome, final aim of what you're trying to do, they will certainly be helpful. But just as a disclaimer, we don't specifically include this.
Indeed, I agree with that. I mean, all these elements that we are sharing, all these engagement methods and techniques, marketing techniques, can be used for this purpose. I think these are elements, these are instruments, and we'll have enough good practices that showcase how successful they are and the procedures for them. But yeah, I agree with what Laura said. I hope we answered that question. Okay. And then I think we have 2 more, but I think we answered this already. One is about what types of activities and tests can be expected. We said it at the beginning. And the other one is how much time is expected to dedicate it to each unit, which we answered as well. So that being said, we have 1 minute to go. I don't think we have anything else to discuss, but this is the last call. If you have any question, you're still in time to raise your hand. And if not, just remember that you can contact for the e-course, specifically Laura and I. And for more information about the good practices collected by Hessen, Eugenia, and for the other good practices, you can always contact our regional partners. You can find all the contacts on the e-smartec website. I would like to thank, first of all, our project coordinators who are not physically here with us, but have sent us that warm welcome at the beginning. So thank you so much. And especially I want to thank Eugenia and Laura for being here today with for the launch. So thank you to the 2 of you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And I want to thank all those of you who attended and asked so many questions. We're very happy, and we hope to see you next week. Actually, we hope to see you already during this week, registering as many as possible. And for you to access the e-course on Thursday with the first unit. The introduction is going to be like super easy, super nice, and super fun, hopefully. And I think, yeah, we're done. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye, and have a
Goodbye.
nice evening.